Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. Naruto Uzumaki breathed heavily as he stared at the scroll of seals. He had done it. He had actually learned a forbidden technique. This meant he could finally graduate and become a world-class ninja, and then someday he would be Hokage. He was quivering with excitement. He couldn't wait to show Mizuki and Iruka-sensei. They would be so proud, and Iruka would buy him all the ramen he could eat. He paused for a moment. If he could learn more than one jutsu, maybe he could jump straight to a Jonin. Or at least get more ramen out of the deal. He scanned through the scroll. In a few minutes he was frustrated. Most of the jutsu in this thing didn't make any sense to him. That was why he had gone for the multi-shadow clone. At least he could understand what it meant. That was when his eyes saw a part of the scroll that seemed out of place. First, it was not a jutsu, but a seal with the leaf symbol at its center. He could read the kanji beneath. Uzumaki Seal of Containment. This storage seal contains an unknown power from another world and should only be released in extreme situations. Powers and abilities are unknown and should be thoroughly researched before being activated. Naruto was not sure if he should touch the seal, but it did have his name on it, and him becoming a ninja was an extreme situation, right? Not really listening to the voice in his head that told him to quit while he was ahead, he placed his hand on the seal and channeled some chakra. There was a small puff of smoke and a small crystal appeared on the scroll. He picked it up and scrutinized it. It was a small blue crystal with a strange symbol carved into it that looked kind of like a coin. "I don't get it. What kind of power are you?" he asked aloud. Getting frustrated, he pressed his finger into the carving and the sharp edges cut him, and a small bit of blood filled the carving. The crystal glowed blue and then shattered into dust. "Well, that was disappointing," he said. He paused when something appeared in front of his face a few feet away. It looked kind of like a glowing blue sign, and on it was written, "Start game? Yes or no?" The sign just sort of hung there. Game? What kind of game? Naruto thought to himself. He thought for just a moment of selecting the no option, but he knew he had to find out what this did. He pressed yes. A bright light filled his eyes, but he could still read new words appearing. Ready Player One. Start. There was a surge of power flowing through him and Naruto passed out. 1. He started to come around when he felt someone shaking him. It took a few moments, but he began to open his eyes. He saw Iruka-sensei staring at him with a concerned look on his face. Looking up at him, Naruto excitedly sat up with a grin, wanting to share his news. "Iruka-sensei, I did it. I learned a jutsu from the scroll. I might have learned two, but I'm not sure. The other was weird. But it doesn't matter because now I can pass and become a genin, and you can be proud of me and we can have lots of ramen, right?" "Naruto, what are you talking about? You stole the scroll of seals." "Yeah, I know, it was hard too. But if you steal the scroll and learn a jutsu, you have to be promoted, right?" Iruka grabbed him by the shoulders and Naruto realized something was wrong by the serious look on his face. "Naruto, who told you that?" Naruto started to respond but was struck silent when he saw glowing signs floating above Iruka's head. Iruka Amino LV, 15. Chunin. To the right of the number 15 was a circle with the symbol of the hidden leaf. The circle glowed a faint green. Below the word Chunin were two bars, the top green with the letters HP at the end and the bottom blue with the letters MP following. Iruka was worried for Naruto, thinking something from the seal had harmed him or someone had threatened him. "Naruto, who told you to get the scroll?" "Well, that would be me, Iruka." Iruka turned to see his fellow teacher standing there with a wicked grin on his face. Naruto was distracted by the same kind of sign glowing above Mizuki's head, but this was glowing an angry red and the symbol of the leaf had a slash through it like a rogue ninja. Mizuki LV, 21. Chunin. I had no idea that Demon Brat would actually manage to pull through. I mean, it was really a 1 in 1,000 chance. But he actually got the scroll. With that I will rise high in his service. I will have power no ninja in this pathetic village could ever dream of. How could you betray the leaf? We're friends, Mizuki, you know I could never let you get away with this." "Friends? With a weakling like you? I only pretended to be your friend because you seemed close to the Hokage, but you couldn't even capitalize on that, right? Well, Iruka, you're going to do something for me. You're going to help me get more power than I could ever dream." Iruka took up a guarded stance in front of Naruto, kunai in his hand. "You won't take the scroll, Mizuki, and I won't let you near Naruto." Mizuki laughed at the sentiment. Convenient to care about the boy now, don't you think? I mean, you hate him as much as I do. Don't listen to him, Naruto. Iruka shouted. He needn't have worried. Naruto was listening, but he found his mind was racing. He felt panicked, worried, angry, and most of all scared, but at the same time part of himself felt detached and was analyzing the situation. His emotions were a distant thing. Mizuki used me to try and get the secrets of the scroll. Makes sense now that I think about it. He is obviously trying to get me upset so he can get the scroll from me. Plus Iruka-sensei is being distracted by worrying about me instead of focusing on his opponent. Why he was so calm? He never thought things through like this. It was kind of cool. Boy, if you give me the scroll now, I will let you live. Hell, I'll even take you with me. What about Iruka-sensei? Sorry, but he has to go. No deal. Mizuki laughed. Protecting your dear sensei? What a laugh. What if I told you he and the whole damn village was keeping a secret from you? Don't, Mizuki, it's forbidden, cried Iruka. Like I care anymore. Well, kid, do you want to know the reason you're treated like scum? Even with his unnaturally calm state, Naruto was curious. Go ahead. You know the demon fox that attacked the village 12 years ago? It was sealed within you by the fourth Hokage. Every day every adult who knows the secret looks at you, either wondering if this is the day you go psycho and kill them or blaming you for the loved ones they lost. You want to know the most hilarious thing? Iruka's parents were killed by the fox. Naruto looked up at Iruka and saw tears in his eyes. He knew Mizuki was telling the truth, at least about the demon. The calm part of his mind noted that Iruka wasn't looking at him with anger or hatred, and Naruto remembered when he first met Iruka he had been one of the ones who gave him that cold empty stare, but something had changed. Iruka cared about him. Everything else could wait. Behind Iruka, Mizuki grabbed out several kunai and threw them at his former comrade. Naruto pushed Iruka to the ground and raced into the woods with the scroll, hoping that Mizuki would follow. After a moment he realized his plan had failed and Mizuki must have stayed behind to finish off his sensei before following, coming after him and the scroll. Naruto had been focused on the battle instead of where he was going and was worried he could not circle around in time. That was when noticed there were still more signs in his view. They seemed to be opaque until he focused on them. One was similar to the signs he had seen above the two Chunin. Naruto Uzumaki LV. 1. Academy student. The same green and blue bars were beneath his name. The sign was in the upper left field of his vision. In the upper right was a small glowing circular map that he was relatively sure followed his movements. To the east were two glowing targets. One red and one green. The same colors that Iruka and Mizuki's signs had been. It would follow if the map was accurate that the green marker was Iruka. He quickly and quietly headed back toward his sensei. The fight had not gone well for Iruka, who was bleeding from multiple wounds and was pinned to a wall by a giant shuriken. Mizuki was taunting him and he readied a kunai. So all that work and I will still kill you and then hunt down the brat. Was the scroll really that important? I didn't fight for the scroll. What? You mean you actually care about that demon? He's not a demon. He's Naruto Uzumaki of the Hidden Leaf. He's my student, and he's more of a ninja than you'll ever be. We'll see how much of ninja he is when I gut him. I'll compare him to you. Naruto's mind raced. His duty was to the scroll. He should get it back to the village. That's what Iruka would tell him to do after all. But he couldn't leave him here to die. Mizuki was way stronger than he was though. He should try to get help. Screw it. He wanted to try this new jutsu out anyway. Mizuki closed in on Iruka. If you touch my sensei again, I'll kill you. A voice said from behind him. Mizuki turned to see Naruto standing there defiantly displaying the scroll of seals. Well, kid, I guess some people are just born suckers. I'd be more than happy to kill you if you like. The only one who is going to die today is you, traitor. Naruto said as he brought his hands together and shouted. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Naruto channeled as much chakra as he could into the technique, knowing he only had one chance at this. He noticed the blue bar under his name was nearly emptied. The blue bar means chakra? He thought as a massive cloud of smoke surrounded the trio. When it cleared, hundreds of Narutos surrounded Mizuki. How? He stammered. You told me to learn a jutsu, remember? Naruto taunted, and as when the entire legion attacked the rogue ninja. As his brothers battled, Naruto with the scroll secured to his back headed toward his sensei. Naruto? Just hold on, Iruka-sensei. I'm sorry, Naruto, I should have been there for you more. It's cool, sensei, you can make it up to me in ramen later. Iruka started to respond and then grimaced in pain. He looked up at Naruto and then his eyes went wide in horror as he looked over his shoulder. Naruto turned and saw a severely beaten, but still standing, Mizuki heading toward him. The clones were all gone. Above Mizuki's head his green bar was red and blinking. Health, thought Naruto. His own chakra was still nearly depleted and he had no weapons that could take Mizuki down. Mizuki began to charge kunai in hand. Wait, I do have one weapon. He looked down apologetically at Iruka. Sorry sensei. He apologized. Naruto reached down and grabbed the massive shuriken out of Iruka's shoulder. His sensei screamed and passed out from the pain. Naruto spun and threw the weapon straight at Mizuki. He was too close to miss. The weapon impaled the rogue ninja who fell forward, pushing the weapon further into his chest. The red blinking bar completely disappeared and it read Ko in its place. Naruto felt a surge of strength and his green and blue bars were completely full. A sign appeared in front of him. A chime sounded. Congratulations, you have reached level 2. HP and MP restored. The first screen faded only to be replaced with another. Return the sacred scroll. You have defeated the traitor Mizuki. Take back the sacred scroll to the Hokage to make up for your actions. Nothing seemed to happen. Only a few minutes later Anbu appeared. The third had already informed them of his innocence and patched Iruka up enough to get him to the hospital. Naruto was told to carry the scroll to the Hokage. Naruto related the events and the Hokage just listened. Finally he was done and he waited, but the Hokage just stared at him smoking his pipe. Naruto, your actions put the entire leaf at risk. If Mizuki had gotten away with the scroll, our enemies would have gotten its secrets and they used them against us. I'm sorry Gigi, I didn't want anything like that to happen. I know my boy, but you still leave me no choice as to my actions now. Naruto hung his head and waited his punishment. Congratulations Naruto. You pass. Naruto's head popped up in surprise. Sarutobi just smiled and continued. We all were deceived by Mizuki Naruto and you had every reason to believe your teacher. You showed yourself a true shinobi when you discovered the truth and refused to run away. I'm proud of you Naruto. Naruto was overcome with joy and hugged the Hokage, who patted him on the back. They talked for a time and the Hokage told him graduation and team assignments would be held off for 2 weeks while the academy was investigated to see if Mizuki had any fellow spies. The Hokage awarded him the pay for an A-rank mission and Naruto headed home. The scroll returned. Tomorrow he would visit his sensei and decide how he would spend his money. As he entered his apartment another chime sounded and another sign appeared in front of him. Return the sacred scroll. Completed. You have returned the sacred scroll to the Hokage, who has now acknowledged you as worthy of being a ninja. Reward. Genin rank and pay for a rank mission. New quest. Graduation day. Now that you will graduate with your class, take this time to learn about your new abilities and maximize your skills. Naruto realized he had a lot more to do than he thought. Naruto Uzumaki made it home after returning the scroll to the Hokage. After he had returned home, a new sign had appeared offering congratulations for completing a quest and he had quickly hit the OK option. He wanted to hit himself for not reading the sign more carefully because he was sure it had said something about a reward and an item was added to his inventory. He had checked his pack but had found nothing new. The young shinobi suspected there was more to his power, but he was at a loss as how to figure it out. He spent a few minutes trying to figure out something, but mostly he just made himself look like an idiot, shouting and waving his hands around. When he was feeling his most frustrated, a chime sounded and a new sign appeared in front of him. Complete tutorial. It's time for you to learn about your new skills, gamer. Finish the tutorial to get a working idea of how your new abilities work. Despite his misgiving about something that sounded like schoolwork, he accepted. Welcome, gamer. You are one of many who has found and accepted the power of an avatar crystal. The crystal is a quantum computer that bonds with a host through an entanglement matrix at a base level of reality. This results in alteration of the observer reality. This alteration allows for gamer mechanics to be applied to the host in a physical universe. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds cool. Naruto commented to the screen. A small arrow pointed to his picture and name in the left corner of his view. This screen represents your basic character info. All characters and items have levels. Levels are a general representation of a character or item's strength. Relative skill can make a character or item stronger than they appear. so a wise gamer never underestimates an opponent. The symbol circle next to the level represents the character's allegiance. In this case, the gamer is primarily aligned the Leaf Village. Multiple allegiances can be held and many grant special options. Some allegiances prevent others, however, so choose carefully. Above is the character name. Below the name is the character title. Multiple titles can be earned. Some are merely decorative, but some grant additional bonuses to stats or reputation. Beneath the title line is the HP bar, which is connected to your overall health. Gamers can restore health rather quickly in comparison to a NPC, non-player character, but there are consequences if your HP reaches 0. Next is the blue MP, which represents your mana pool. Mana is directly connected to your special abilities. More powerful powers use more of the pool. It should be noted in worlds with innate special powers, magic, the force, ki, chakra, etc., that the MP is connected to those powers but not limited to those powers. A gamer can learn powers beyond the normal for his world through hard work. Finally, any status effects, either positive or negative, are listed below the health bar. Continue? Naruto waited a moment before hitting yes. So he may not understand how his new power worked, but he could see its potential. At a glance he could see the general strength of most shinobi, but not all. When he had visited the Hokage Tower, there were plenty of shinobi there at all times. Many had a level that he could see, but some only showed on their level, including the Hokage himself. It took him a minute, but he figured some ninja were so strong he could not view their level. He selected the continue option. In the upper right you see the screen map or mini-map. The mini-map displays local terrain, NPCs, quest and other items of interest depending on your skills. When Naruto focused on any screen, it came into focus and appeared solid. When he focused on the mini-map, he could see an outline of his own apt and into the edges of the others. Note many skills such as stealth hide opponents from the mini-map. Great. Only something every single shinobi can do. Next. Say status aloud to bring up the character screen. Status, Naruto complied. A screen launched with a cutout that looked roughly like himself. It was divided into multiple sections, and on his chest and waist were the t-shirt and shorts he was currently wearing. To the left of the page were letters and numbers he did not recognize except for 2 of them, which were his HP and MP. Character screen. This screen has several functions. First is the character sheet that displays the gamer's currently equipped gear. Gear can be swapped out from this screen in addition to the real world. Also, stats for gear can be viewed by pressing and holding the icon. Please try now. Naruto pressed on the picture of his t-shirt. White Konoha T. This is a cheap white t-shirt with the symbol of the leaf in red on the front. AC. 1. This shirt has not been washed in several weeks and currently has a -5 stamina debuff. The tutorial continued. It is important for a gamer to acquire the best possible gear to improve his stats. Gear can be acquired from combat, crafting, purchase or quest reward. Most items have a durability life and have to be repaired. On the left side of your character screen you will view your stats. Stats are half of the main method for a gamer being able to determine his power. The other half is skills, which will be reviewed in the skill screen. Stats are as follows: strength, STR, vitality, vit, dexterity, dex, intelligence, int, wisdom, wis, and luck, luck. Following each was a brief description of how each stat affected him physically. The higher the number, the better ability. Strength, stamina and vitality were his higher stats, followed by a tie between intelligence and dexterity, with luck and wisdom coming in last. At the bottom of the stat screen you will notice a plus sign. This will be visible whenever you have stat points to invest. Stat points are acquired when you level and can be spent on the stat of your choice. Think carefully before you spend your points. Certain skills require certain stats. A imbalanced character to heavy in one stat may found himself defeated by a weaker but more well-rounded opponent. Note: stat points can also be increased through actions such as training to increase strength and studying to increase intelligence. Finally, the last section at the bottom of the screen is your reputation. Reputation changes based on your actions. It can go to green, which represents a positive reputation, or red, which is a negative reputation. This is your general reputation in your world. Reputation can also be acquired on an individual level with NPCs or organizations. You can view reputation in the guide screen or by selecting a NPC character screen. Naruto was not surprised his reputation was firmly in the red. Of course, now that he knew about the fox he had a reason why. He was determined to change that. Please say inventory or swipe screen to left to access inventory screen. Naruto swiped the screen and viewed a large screen divided into many blocks. All the blocks were empty except for 4 of the squares in the upper left. It was a set of clothes as far as he could tell. This is the inventory screen. Here a gamer can store and remove all needed gear and items for quests. Each slot can hold only 1 item. However, some items of similar type are stackable and can hold multiple items in the same slot. Beginning inventory is 40 items. Inventory can be expanded over time with increased levels or items. You have 4 new pieces of armor from quest reward. First try viewing the stats for the item. Press and hold the icon for the chest piece. Naruto did so and a new screen appeared with the item description. Onyx Initiate Battle Gear, Chest, Level 1 to 10, Rank, Uncommon, Durability 25/25, AC, 15, 5% increase to chakra control. Set bonus. Entire set brings an increased resistance to elemental attacks and an additional 5% bonus to chakra control. Its sleek style also provides a bonus to reputation. Description. Inspired by Anbu battle gear and made with chakra-enhanced thread, this is high-end gear for a starting genin. Normally only afforded to young shinobi with wealthy backgrounds. Awesome, Naruto thought to himself. He did a glance at the other gear. It was the complete set. The chest piece was a long-sleeved tee that was padded and armored. The pants looked tough and form-fitting. Finally it was finished up with fingerless combat gloves and spiked combat sandals. Each had similar bonuses to the set. He didn't know if he wanted it though. He loved his orange jumpsuit. He wondered what stat bonuses it had. He would need to find how to check it first. He selected to continue the tutorial. Items can be removed from the inventory screen at will. Please try it now. Reach toward the inventory screen and remove the chest piece. Naruto wasn't sure about this but reached toward the screen. When his fingers touched it, the screen rippled and his hand vanished into it. He could feel the chest piece and pulled it out. Awesome. This was better than a storage seal. Now try to place the item back in the inventory. Naruto shrugged and pushed the armor toward the screen. Once again it rippled and the icon reappeared in the menu. Wearable gear can be moved directly to the character sheet by either bringing up the character screen and moving the icon or double-tapping the icon to auto-equip. Please try now. Naruto double-tapped the chest piece and felt the fabric shift on his body. He was surprised at how good the fabric felt but was surprised that it didn't seem to fit properly. His t-shirt was now in his inventory. Now try equipping your entire armor set. Within a few moments it was done. The gloves and sandal fit perfectly but the pants did not fit well either. What gives? Most items can be placed in the inventory. Try placing one in now. His jumpsuit. He picked it up off the floor and shoved it into the inventory. It appeared as an icon and he quickly selected it, eager to see its stats. Orange worker jumpsuit, full body, LV. 1, rank. Common, AC. 1, minus 50% to stealth. Minus 10% to reputation. Minus 15% to reputation with anyone of the opposite. This suit was overstock from bulk purchase by the Civilian Council of Konoha. It was purchased for the general worker populace of the village. Unfortunately, none of the workers would wear it due to its tasteless appearance. Considered an insult to fashion everywhere. You've got to be kidding me. That is the most awesome ninja outfit ever. He had gotten it for a steal. He thought for a moment. He had gotten it for really cheap. In fact, the store owner had practically given him a whole closet full of his favorite outfit. This in a town where he had issues being sold anything at a fair price. Crap, he said aloud. He had the new armor but it didn't seem to fit right. A chime sounded. New quest. A slight alteration. Take your new armor to the Yukari Armory and see if it can put the finishing touches on your new threads. Fine, you would think my power hates my clothes. Finally, on the inventory screen you can view your money, Ryo. Money can be acquired from opponent drops, quests or selling items. Most money is automatically deposited to your inventory but some must be added directly. You have saved funds and quest reward available. Please try to deposit now. While no specific instructions were given as to how, he figured it must be the same as items. So he picked up Gamma-chan and placed him in the inventory. Instead of becoming an icon in the inventory, he appeared next to money counter at the bottom. The total was now the funds he had saved from his allowance. He got the envelope which contained the money for the A-ranked mission the Hokage had given him. His eyes bulged when the money counter increased. He had not checked the amount yet, he had been too distracted by his new power. That was a lot of money. He could live for a couple of years as he was now on this alone. But he paused. Getting good gear for a shinobi life could be expensive and he would be wise to spend it on the best he could get. He would think on it tomorrow when he visited the armory shop. He had never been to that one, maybe they would give him a good deal. Please swipe or say skills to bring up the skill screen. Naruto did so. Perhaps more so than stats, the skills abilities affect the overall power of a character. Skill represent all the abilities of the gamer. There are several ways to acquire skills. First are actions. When doing a unique or repeated action, a skill can be created. Second, skills can be taught by a trainer. Third, skills can be learned through items. It should be noted these are only the main ways to learn skills. Sometimes skills can be acquired by unique situations. Once learned, skills are either passive, meaning they are always active and have little or no cost, or they are active, meaning there is either a cost or limit to their use. Some skills have elements of both passive and active. Most skills can be leveled. Besides becoming stronger, leveled skills can take on new powers. Also listed on the screen are flaws. Flaws are skills that are almost completely negative for the gamer. Flaws can be permanent due to things like injury or temporary based debuffs like poison. Most permanent flaws can be removed. Please review your skill list now. Naruto was excited for this. He could see how strong he was, and from the sounds of it he could learn many more skills as well. A gamer's mind, passive, LV. Max. Allows the user to calmly and logically think things through. Allows peaceful state of mind. Immunity to psychological status effects. A gamer's body, passive, LV. Max. Grants a body that allows for the user to live the real world like a game. Beginner's boost, passive, temporary, LV. Max. This is a temporary skill that allows use to train skills known before gamer power was created. 300% bonus to training-related skills. Boost no longer affects skill once it meets appropriate level. Blood of the Uzumaki clan, passive, LV. Max. Being one of the last of the fabled Uzumaki clan, this user has access to their gifts. The gamer only has one of the gifts unlocked at this time. Massive chakra pools. User has access to massive chakra in comparison to the average shinobi. This gift comes with a price as user receives a -75% to chakra control. This can be mediated with other skills. Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox, passive, LV. Information locked at this time. See guide for more info. Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu, active, LV. Max. Jutsu that allows user to create multiple shadow clones of himself for combat. MP cost is directly related to amount of clones summoned or power placed into each clone. Each clone is capable of independent attack within limit of MP given to clone. Clones are destroyed in one hit. Related skill can strengthen clone's durability, and upon destruction remaining MP and clone's memories are returned to gamer. This jutsu is useful for various situations such as training. Warning: memories of multiple clones can overwhelming for user. Pure physical training is useless since physical changes are not carried to the user. Note: there are restrictions on use of jutsu in gamer abilities. Clones do see the HUD of a gamer but cannot access the other screens. Clones can help complete the quest steps but cannot actually accept or complete the quest. Finally, the clones can help level skills, but the effect decreases as the skills levels higher. Malnourished flaw, passive, permanent. The gamer has had a consistently poor diet resulting in a 5% decrease in all stats. Flaw can be removed with change in diet and time. Socially inept flaw, passive, permanent. The gamer has developed poor social skills resulting in additional 5% loss to reputation. A general 20% loss in social interactions. This flaw can be removed with increased social interaction and experience. Unkempt flaw, passive, permanent. The gamer has a poor living environment and grooming habits resulting in a 5% loss to reputation and a 20% loss in social interactions. Additional 10% when dealing with an interested female. This flaw can removed with improvement of lifestyle. Outcast flaw, passive, permanent. Due to the gamer being the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, he is hated and feared by many in the village. This results in a minus 50% reputation check with villagers who knows the secret. Only minus 25% with villagers who do not know secret. No effect outside of village. This flaw can be removed but method is unknown at this time. Naruto's head was reeling. The first few skills sounded awesome but after reading the flaws he was pretty depressed. He didn't realize he had such bad habits. How could he not? There was no one who told him differently. His heart was heavy as he continued the tutorial. Please note the skill beginner's boost. Most gamers have skills already learned throughout their life. This given skill allows them to add and train those talents to the skill menu. Once trained, the beginner's boost skill will be removed. It is recommended to grind out those skills first before major questing begins. Please swipe or say guide in order to bring up the guide screen. After complying, the guide screen came up. This screen has needed information for the gamer. On here you will find character profiles for people you meet, monster profiles for creature info, location profiles for locations, quest log to see active, previous or pending quests. This information is dynamic and changes as more is learned about the world and people around you. Some information may give clues to ongoing quest or unlock quests. This completes the tutorial. Enjoy your adventuring gamer. Complete tutorial. Completed. You have learned the basics of your power and are ready to begin questing. Good luck, adventurer. The chimes sounded and Naruto saw he had a little express added and got some more Ryo. He closed the screens and lay down on his bed. Truth be told, he always thought he was more awesome than this. This power seemed to rate him fairly well if he was honest, but he had a lot of weaknesses to work on. But as he thought about it, he was glad. This might show him his problems, but now he knew what to work on. Also, this power would allow him to get stronger much faster. He began to fall asleep with a smile on his face. Tomorrow he would start working on becoming the best ninja he could be, and in 2 weeks when the graduation ceremony was performed he would show his class he deserved to be there. Believe it, Naruto woke up to the start of a new day. A chime alerted him to a new screen. You have slept in your bed. HP and MP are fully restored. Okay, well that's helpful I guess, he said, pulling himself out of bed. While he still felt tired, he had to admit he didn't feel wasted as he normally did first thing in the morning. It was early too. The sun was rising and dawn was filling the sky. He sat on the edge of his bed and looked around his room. In light of the description of his skills and flaws, he found he was not as proud of his little apartment or himself as he had thought. Rather than wallow in depression, however, he decided he was going to work on fixing those issues. He had goals closer than his vague dream of becoming Hokage. Guess we'll start with the easiest one first. Multi-shadow clone jutsu, he said. 3 shadow clones appeared looking at him with apprehension. After all, they had his memories up to the moment of their creation. What up, boss? The first clone asked. Naruto noted next to the character name on his clones there was a number listed in order of 1, 2, and 3. The mini-map, their numbers appeared as well. He could use that to help keep track of them. We gotta clean this place up, do our laundry and see about better food. What are you going to be doing while we do all the work? 3 complained. Naruto sighed. Did he sound this whiny to others? This would have to be part of the things he worked on if he wanted to remove all his flaws. While you guys handle the house chores, I will take our armor to the Yukari Armory and see if they can alter it to fit us properly. On the way back I'll try and figure out what will count as a proper diet. Nothing is better than ramen, 2 said sagely. The other 2 clones nodded in agreement. You know we have a flaw because of that, responded Naruto. Stupid power doesn't like our clothes, doesn't like our food, maybe it just doesn't like us, complained one. Naruto shook his head. You don't think that any more than I do. No, I guess not, but this sucks. Naruto nodded in agreement. He got out a pack and pulled his new armor out of his inventory. He couldn't just pull it out of thin air after all. He would have to work on that. CYA later, guys, he said as he left. 2 of the clones waved back except for the third, who was glaring as he started to pull the laundry from under the bed. Stink lines radiated from them. Naruto quickly closed the door. The day was looking beautiful. Enough so that he was able to ignore most of the hateful stares from the villagers. As he walked he thought about the fact he was a host for a demon. What did that mean anyway? The tutorial had said there might be more information in the guide, but he had not gone through all the screens in it last night. He was worried that he might find more bad news. He was determined to go through it later today. He had no idea where he was going. He had never been to the Yukari Armory before. Trying to look casual, he accessed his quest log and selected the mission. There was nothing about where the shop was, but when he exited the screen he saw a small arrow showing on the map. He guessed this was showing him where to go. He followed the arrow as best he could since he was stuck on the ground. In a few minutes he had made his way there. He walked inside the shop and had to blink his eyes. It was dark compared to the bright outside, and it took some moments for his eyes to adjust. Inside, weapons and armor of all types cluttered and littered almost every available space. There was a dark-haired girl at the counter who was reading through a magazine. She had not noticed him, and in truth he was nervous because most store owners either wouldn't serve him or would charge him outrageous prices. For now Naruto walked around the room looking at all the gear available to him. He wished he could place it in his inventory and see its stats. He could try and figure what was the best if he knew. He spent several minutes looking at the differences in the gear. A chime sounded. He tried not to jerk back in surprise as a new screen appeared before him. Congratulations, through a special action you have gained a new skill. Observe, active, LV. 1. MP cost. 5. This skill allows the user to gather information about a target. Higher level items or NPCs may require higher levels in Observe to view. Higher levels also allow more information to be gained. He had gained his first new skill just by paying close attention to the gear. Whispering under his breath he said, "Observe," and found he was able to view the base stats of most of the gear. Since he was only a level 2, many of the pieces were beyond his level. He paused. He had been using the skill on items, but it could work on people too. Naruto decided to use it on the girl. When he turned to target her he found she was staring right at him. "If you don't know what you're doing then you could just ask me," she said. Naruto rubbed the back of his head with his hand. Hi," he said lamely. "I remember you," she said. "You're that goof from the academy a year behind me, right? Wasn't your name Naruto?" "Yes it was, yes it is." He glanced at her name floating above her head. "I was wondering if I could get some alterations to some armor I just got." "Tenten, right?" The girl smiled and nodded in response. She didn't seem to have any malice in her, he thought to himself. She wore a light pink shirt and green pants. Her hair was brown and her eyes were a steel gray in color. Her forehead protector was showing proudly right on top of her head, and her hair was set in 2 Eastern-style buns. Naruto noticed her muscles were well developed and tried not to stare at any places he shouldn't. "Why don't you let me see it?" she asked. "See what? The armor? Oh, right." He pulled it out of his pack. He had brought the complete set, not knowing if the gloves and sandals would be relevant, having never done this before. Tenten whistled as she picked up the clothes. "This is pretty good for a kid." Naruto winced as he was sure she couldn't be much more than a year older than him. "How did you get something like this?" "It was a gift for graduating," he said, coming up with the lie quickly. She looked at him as if appraising his skills right there. "You graduated from the academy, huh? I wish someone had given me something this nice when I graduated. It looks pretty good right now. What did you need done to it?" "Well, the shirt and pants don't quite fit me right." "Really, someone goes to all the trouble of buying such good starter gear and they don't even measure you to make sure it fits?" Naruto just shrugged in response. "Well, I'll need to check with Yukari-sensei because of the material, but there's not much he can't do." "Do you want any modifications?" "Modifications? Added padding, new designs or symbols. That sort of thing." "Well, there is one thing." "What is it? Could it have orange?" For the first time Tenten looked at him, or more accurately at his jumpsuit, and grimaced. "Naruto, I can see you have a certain style, but it doesn't have to look like this," he interjected. "I have a ton of these suits at home. I just love the color. You can work in whatever design you want as long as you think it looks good." "A ton," she said as if the thought tasted bad. "Well, I'm sure we can do something with this in orange, but let me talk to my sensei." She turned and walked into a back room. He was just hearing some mumbling at first, but the voices started to raise as if they were getting into an argument. "I'm not going to do it," a gruff older male voice commented. "It's for a customer. I have better things to do than alterations. Have him take it to a tailor. It's shinobi battle gear made from chakra thread. A tailor would just screw it up." I have a ton of projects to get done. He's a friend from the academy. He just graduated. Naruto appreciated being called a friend even if it wasn't true. Then you do it. You more than have the skills for something this simple. Naruto could not hear the mumbled response. Apparently neither could the man. I said I don't so. Tenten said grumpily. Of course you do. I've seen you do it myself. I mean I refuse to. People would think I'm a girl. You still going on about that? You're a girl. That's not what I mean. I'm not one of those pretty girl kunoichi who is onto the pressing flowers and trying to impress boys. I sew all the time. You're not a girl. So you see my point then. Arg, she screamed in frustration. Are you going to help me or not? Did you finish the armor repairs I gave you to do? I'm still working on them? Then you can work on this too. If he's your friend you can handle the shame. Fine, Tenten stated. Naruto quickly moved away from the doorway and tried to look like he knew nothing. A chime sounded. New skill acquired. Snoop. Passive, LV. 1. This skill gives you a 5% bonus to overhear whispered conversations. Keep on butting into other people's business to increase levels. Not the kind of skills I was hoping to get. Naruto whispered to himself. Tenten came out a moment later. Okay Naruto, it might take some time to get it done but I'm sure I can get sensei to do it. When do you need it? Graduation was held off for 2 weeks so I won't need it until then. But I would like to pick up some ninja tools today if I can. Sure, but the academy or your new sensei will normally supply you some good starter equipment. I know, but I wanted to spend most of my time training. My skills could be a lot better. Good for you. Any idea what kind of gear you want? Naruto had already spent some time looking at the equipment and with his observe he saw a section that had been crafted by Tenten. It was a higher quality and had better stats than the basic gear you normally get for free from school, and it was still affordable. He pointed at it. This stuff looks good, he said. Really? He turned, hearing excitement in her voice. When he saw her face he saw her looking at him with gratitude and excitement. You think they're good? Yes? He asked, perplexed. Awesome, she shouted. I can get you a complete starter set right now. Tenten moved around gathering a rather generous starter kit with plenty of kunai, shuriken, ninja wire, smoke bombs and various other things ninja need. Tenten seemed to be humming happily as she gathered the stuff. She got out a pad and was busily writing information down. Okay Naruto-kun, he was kun now, this is a estimate. I won't know if this is the final total until sensei gets the work on your armor done. She handed him the bill. Naruto looked at the total and blanched. This was way more than he was expecting. The starter set was fine but the armor. A rank pay shouldn't be gone in a day. Tenten noticed the look on his face. Something wrong? I guess I didn't expect it to be so much. Chakra thread is expensive Naruto-kun. Alterations would not be as much but changing the design will require new material to be woven in. Naruto tried not to look downcast. He finally found a shop that wouldn't screw him and he still couldn't afford what he wanted. I guess I will just have to go for the alterations then. Naruto said, trying to keep the sadness out of his voice. Tenten looked at his face and sighed. I guess if I do it for you myself I could do it for you at cost since you're buying the weapons. Really? I have 2 conditions Naruto-kun. These are not optional. First, my Jonin sensei has been out on a mission and my teammates are busy so I have had no one to train with. I want to train with you for the next couple of weeks. I'm getting rusty training by myself. Naruto paused for a moment. He wanted to be by himself to work with his new power more but he should be fine. Also, Tenten was a genin with almost a year of experience. He would learn more from her than trying to work through training alone. Okay, I would like that. Good, she nodded as if that was a foregone conclusion. Now the second part is more important. I will do this for you but you will not tell a single person I actually sewed anything for you. She cracked her knuckles and her face took on a demonic hue. Are we clear? Naruto gulped in fear. No problem Tenten. Immediately her face went back to an angelic smile. Okay, then I will bring you geared to training area 23 tomorrow and we will start training, okay? We will get you in shape for graduation. A slight alteration, completed. Your armor is set to be corrected in time for graduation and you have made a new friend. Reward 300 XP. New quest. Time for a training montage. Tenten has offered to train with you so her own skill won't go rusty. Be prepared for a lot of hard work over the next 2 weeks. Naruto left the shop not sure exactly what had happened. 1. Naruto made it home a little after the sun had gone down. He had gone shopping for food and for maybe the first time he could remember his kitchen was full of a wide variety of edibles. He had asked a shopkeeper to help him find healthy food. Luckily he was not kicked out, but he was sure they had almost doubled the price. Right now his budget could take it. But he had run into a more serious problem. He had no idea how to cook any of it. It was not that he had not eaten non-ramen related food before, but when he did, usually it was bought for him by someone like Gigi or Aruka. The old man insisted on it every so often, and it had always annoyed him, but now he figured he was right. It was one of his flaws after all. At least the clones had done a good job cleaning the apartment. It was spotless from top to bottom. He was a little disappointed he had not lost the unkempt flaw yet, but he figured he would keep working on it. One bonus he supposed was when the clones dispelled and their memories and chakra flooded back into him, he had gotten a new skill. Household chores. Passive, LV.1, 5% boost to speed when doing your daily chores. Additional bonuses and increased speed available upon leveling. Active skill. Spend 10 megapixels for a 30% bonus against stains. Somehow he was hoping the skills he got would be more awesome, but at least it showed his clones could help him get new tricks. There was knock on the door. Naruto was surprised as no one really ever visited him. Not counting times the Hokage sent Anbu to bring him in after a prank. He had not done any pranks recently that would get the old man on him. None that he could prove, at least. Naruto walked to the door and cracked it open. The light streamed out onto a young girl's face who looked a little embarrassed. "Tenten?" he asked. "What are you doing here?" "I'm sorry for coming by late, Naruto-kun, but there is an issue with your order, so I looked up your address." Naruto sighed. "Did your sensei change his mind about selling to me? It wouldn't be the first time after all." Tenten scowled. "What? No, what would it matter if he did? I told you I would do it for you after all." "Then what is wrong?" Naruto asked, puzzled. "Can I come in first?" "Oh sure, sorry about that," he said while opening the door all the way and moving aside. She walked in and looked around his small apartment. He was sure he saw a small look of surprise on her face. She probably thought it was going to be mess. Normally Naruto wouldn't have cared what anyone thought, but now he was strangely glad that he had cleaned the place. The young woman did grimace when she saw the closest full of jumpsuits. "Naruto-kun, don't take this wrong way, but is that all you have to wear?" "Outside of some t-shirts, pretty much," he said sheepishly and a bit embarrassed. "Your guardian didn't at least try and buy you anything else?" "What guardian? I know you were an orphan, but I never saw you at the orphanage." "You had to be living in a foster home or something, right?" No. That's silly. Who looked after you?" "I did live in the orphanage until I was about 6, but they insisted I could watch after myself. The Hokage sent me up with an allowance in this apartment." "Wait, why didn't someone take you in?" This was getting uncomfortable, but for some reason he continued. "No one wanted me, I guess," he said, not really meeting her eyes. After all, she had been pretty nice to him so far. He was afraid if she found out how no one liked him she would leave, but he didn't want to lie to her. He heard a small sniffle. When he looked up, he saw her eyes seemed bigger than normal and tears were rolling down them. "That's just stupid," she said, holding her fist up in defiance. Her voice sounded more angry than anything else. "Is that why you getting this new outfit? You shouldn't change yourself for others, Naruto-kun. Except for the jumpsuit. I'm sure you're a great person who should just believe in yourself." "Except for the jumpsuit. Don't let stupid people get you down." "Except for that jumpsuit. I do believe in myself." "What?" "I do believe in myself. I'm going to be the Hokage someday, and I will show everybody that I will force everyone to acknowledge me. It's my biggest dream." "Oh, well that's good then," she said, her speech feeling a bit deflated. "But that is why I'm getting the new armor. It was recently pointed out to me that I am not trying nearly as hard as I should be if I want to be a great shinobi. So that's the reason I'm getting great gear and going to spend the extra time training. I even got all sorts of healthy food to eat better," he said, gesturing toward the kitchen. "Not that I ever actually cooked before. Hey, I guess I should have bought a cookbook or something." Tenten actually giggled, a little. "Hey, didn't you say something was wrong with my order?" he asked. "Right," she said, hitting herself in the head. "I totally forgot. I need to take your measurements. I never actually do this kind of thing, so I skipped it at the shop." As he was talking, she pulled out some measuring tape and a notebook. "If you hate sewing so much, why do you know how to do it? Kunoichi had to learn it in the academy. Just as useless as flower arranging if you ask me. If you really don't want to do it. I already said I would, didn't I?" Just get over here. Tenten ordered more than asked as she took his measurements. Or tried to. After a few minutes she growled in frustration. This stupid jumpsuit is too bulky. You're gonna have to take it off. She ordered. Naruto looked at her in confusion and then shrugged and started to unzip the outfit. A fist came down on his head. Not here, Naruto, she said, making a X with her arms. Go change in your room. You could have just said so. Naruto grumbled, rubbing his head. But still he went into room and in few moments came out wearing shorts and his t-shirt. He suddenly felt far more uncomfortable as she used the tape. He didn't feel the urge to ask her to stop. When she was taking his inseam she looked up at him. Don't get any ideas, Naruto-kun. About what? He asked honestly. Nothing, she said with a slight blush on her face. After a few more moments she went over her notes and then closed the book. Okay, that's all I need, she said. I'm going to go back to the shop and get this started. I will meet you tomorrow for training. Does that sound good? Naruto didn't want her to go. Truth be told, this may be the first time he had a friend around his own age, and the thought of being in his apartment by himself suddenly felt very lonely. So he said the first thing that came to his mind. Would you like to have dinner first? Tenten gave him a quizzical look. I have all this food. I thought you couldn't cook, she asked. Naruto felt deflated. You're right, it was a stupid idea. I haven't eaten yet, and I guess I could cook you dinner. Someone should show you how after all, she said matter-of-factly. You will? Cool. But I'm not cooking it just because I'm a girl, she said with a scary look on her face. Right, he said, nodding in agreement, not really seeing her point. But a smile appeared on her face. Together they made dinner and Naruto could not remember the last time he had this much fun. 2. After Tenten left, Naruto looked at her profile. He had managed to use Observe and get her stats. She was really strong. She was a level 10, which made her on average twice as strong as an academy graduate. Her skills were focused around Bukajutsu, Kenjutsu and Taijutsu, and many of them added pluses to her abilities. Kind of like the skills he had gotten so far, only, useful. He had gotten the cooking skill while making dinner. Oh joy. He sat up. She had also had several skills that were listed as academy skills. Shouldn't he have some of those? Naruto walked over to his closet and pulled out his academy scrolls. He never read these nearly as much as he should have. Maybe that's why he didn't have them now in his skill list. He picked up his Taijutsu scroll. A chime sounded. Skill scroll located. Academy style, Taijutsu. Would you like to learn this? Hell yes, he shouted. Selecting scroll vanished. In his skill list the Taijutsu ability was now listed at level 1. Naruto could not say he felt different, but he was excited when he saw a little icon that meant the beginner's boost skill was in effect. He picked up his other 4 scrolls. One for Bukajutsu, Ninjutsu, Survival, and finally for Academy Scholastic. He learned each one right after another and all of them had the boost. A chime sounded. Congratulations, you have completed the Konoha Academy set of skills. The combined set gives you a 5% bonus against any other graduate of Konoha Academy. When all skills are maxed, this bonus increases to 10%. All skills max out at level 5. These were the first real skills he had gotten. Tenten had the same ones and they were maxed out. He wondered how quickly he could level them. He had the boost and he had the multi-shadow clone jutsu. Naruto was determined to max out the skills in time for graduation. He would not just catch up with his classmates, he would surpass them. It took him another hour to finally fall asleep. As he did, he also was thinking on how he might impress Tenten. A knock on his door woke him. Early. A chime sounded. You have slept in your bed. HP and MP are fully restored. You're going to do that every time, aren't you? Naruto mumbled to his power. He dragged himself out of bed. His might be full health and technically he did feel rested, but the rest of him that wasn't juiced up from a power from another world still was complaining the sun wasn't up. The door annoyed him again. If he didn't answer soon the neighbors would complain. I'm coming, he mumbled. He opened the door to see Tenten standing there with a basket full of stuff. Good morning, Naruto-kun, she said. Naruto's first thought was that it was way too early to be that chipper. His second thought was that he was just in his boxers. He quickly closed the door partway. What are you doing here? He asked. Tenten pressed out her lower lip and her eyes looked like they were going to tear up. You don't mean you're unhappy to see me, do you, Naruto-kun? No, I just thought we were not meeting until this afternoon? Naruto, wanting her to think she wasn't welcome. The change in her face was immediate as a smile blossomed. "Well, I can come in, right? Just let me get change. Shorts are shorts," she said, pushing her way in. She placed her stuff on the counter in his small kitchen. Naruto took the moment to find a shirt. "I'm glad you're here, Tenten, but I got up early to catch up on repair work at the shop, but then I realized something." "What?" She turned toward him holding a spatula in one hand. "I only taught you to make one meal and you were supposed to start eating healthy as part of your dream of becoming Hokage, right?" "Sorta, I guess. Well, since I'm helping you train, it would be irresponsible of me to only show you how to cook one meal. It's my duty to help you with meals until you can cook for yourself." She turned and began arranging things in his kitchen to her liking. Naruto stood there perplexed for a moment and went to join her. One thought kept stuck in his head. "I thought she hated to cook?" 1. Tenten arrived back in the Yukari shop a couple of hours later. She had told Naruto that she would meet up with him this afternoon where they would have lunch and then start their training together. She was looking forward to having someone to spar with. "You get the repair work done?" The voice of her sensei Yukari came from the back room. He was her mentor in weapon forging. Once she had decided to become a tool user, Shinobi Guy had introduced her to him. He was the best smith in the Leaf, maybe in the whole land of fire. Guy felt the best way to know a tool was to know it from the ground up. Guy arranged for her to become an apprentice to Yukari, at least part-time. She wouldn't be the first ninja with a second job. Personally, she felt he did it because he wasn't completely sure how to train her. Guy-sensei was awesome when it came to taijutsu, so could really help Lee and Neji, and he had improved her taijutsu skills incredibly. She was probably the strongest kunoichi in her class, but he only had a basic knowledge of bukajutsu. Whatever his motivation, Guy's plan had worked. Yukari was a retired ninja who had been a jonin tool user himself in his day and now applied his skills to his creations. Besides learning how to make her own gear, he had given her countless tips on training. "I got some of it done last night. I will finish the rest before I go to train," she responded. "You go see that boy you like?" "I don't like him." "You don't? Not like that. So why did you go to his place?" "To cook him breakfast. Before dawn? I have work to do." "He's too young, don't you think? He's only a year younger than me. And he bought the tools you made. What does that have to do with anything? Has anyone else bought your stuff yet?" "No." "If they do, will you make them breakfast?" "No." "Well, it's a good thing you don't like him then." Tenten yelled in frustration and stomped off to get her chores done. A quiet voice came from the back room. "Sometimes I hate you, Guy." 2. Naruto spent the time waiting to meet with Tenten, trying to learn more about his power. He didn't really know for sure what he wanted to do. First thing he did was go to the library. He had to sneak in since most of the librarians would kick him out even if he was being perfectly quiet. By sneaking in, he unlocked 2 new skills. Stealth, passive, LV. 1. This skill grants the gamer the ability to hide himself from his enemies. This skill is directly countered by skills like perception or tracking. Increase levels to avoid being seen. Increased levels also grant new capabilities. Perception, passive, LV. 1. This skill grants the gamer the ability to notice details about the world around him, unlike Observer, which focuses on something specific. Used to counter stealth skill in opponents. Increase level to counter higher levels of stealth and grant new capabilities. Both skills were things he already knew, at least in part, because he had the beginner's boost on them. That would come in handy later. As Naruto wandered the library, he was looking for scrolls to copy and see if he could learn. He was wandering into some problems though. It seemed almost everything he wanted to learn had some sort of restriction on him learning. Either the skill required a certain stat to be much higher than he had now or required elemental release. Whatever that was, he felt like he was wasting time. Even low-ranked jutsu had some restrictions because of his poor mana control. Another problem with using his power to learn jutsu. Most shinobi could learn a jutsu by checking out a scroll and using it until they had learned the jutsu, or for a small fee many jutsu could be copied into a separate scroll. That would be Naruto's preferred method since his power would allow him to learn it instantly and then he could level it up. But if he tried that on the scrolls in the library, they would disappear and the librarians would never sell him a copy. He thought about a transformation, but they were all higher-ranking shinobi. They knew how to spot any that he could make. It was frustrating, but he was starting to learn to think things through. He knew he could increase his stats. They grew some just by leveling, and he also could award points into any stat he chose. He also needed to put some work into his shinobi studies. He wouldn't be able to do that with Tenten. He thought for a moment and summoned, as quietly as he could, 3 shadow clones. He brought them together in a huddle. Okay guys, I need each of you to tackle one subject. When you try to catch us up on studies, we need to level it out to get the academy set bonus. 2 you research into jutsu requirements, elemental release and chakra control. 3 I want you try and find out anything you can about the being a Jinchuriki or the Uzumaki clan. So far the guide actually did list both topics but had all the information locked at this time. He was hoping if he did some research he could unlock more info or clues. We have to study while you get to hang out with Tenten? 1 complained. 2 and 3 nodded in agreement. What does that have to do with anything? Naruto asked. I don't know, it's kinda like we always thought hanging out with Sakura would be. Yeah, but we like Sakura. Naruto countered. 1 shrugged as if Naruto was making a point. I don't like Tenten. Why not? Asked 2. First, I already like Sakura and Tenten is like, I don't know, a older sister or something. A older sister you thought about kissing last night. Said 3. It's really pointless to argue with yourself. Said 1. Besides it's 3 on 1. Said 2. If you guys don't shut up I'll dispel you. Oh darn. Please don't stop my oh so exciting existence of reading scrolls all day. Said 1. Do you even know how to kiss a girl? Asked 2. I've never even thought about it. Except last night. 1 reminded him. Naruto held in his scream of frustration and sneaked out before his clones caught the librarian's attention. He could hear himself snickering as he left. 3. Naruto had spent the rest of his day before meeting with Tenten using the observe skill on several of his classmates to see how he stacked against them. It was mixed but he did learn a lot. Most of the soon-to-be genin were around level 5 and if he managed to level out his academy skills he would match them. If he counted his multi-shadow clone jutsu he would be better than most of his class. But not all. Most of the ones who were stronger than him were from clan families. His observe skill showed him the reason why. Besides having the base skills most students had, they all also had a completely different set of clan-related skills. Those skills increased their overall abilities well beyond their peers. Also their average level was around level 8 with the strongest being Sasuke at level 9. Seeing his skills made it no surprise why he had kicked his ass so many times. Naruto smiled. He knew what was wrong now and that time would see just how good he could be. What are you smiling about, Naruto-kun? Said a voice from behind him. Ah, he yelled, jumping in the air. He landed holding his hand to his chest. Tenten was there grinning. So much for his perception skill. Tenten had a boxed lunch and gestured for him to sit down. The 2 new friends sat next to a large tree and Naruto began to help her unpack. He paused when he saw what was in the box. 2 covered bowls of ramen. Homemade ramen. Naruto looked up at her and there were tears in his eyes. You're the best friend ever, he said sincerely. Tenten blushed and waved it off as if it was nothing. Well, I know you said ramen was your favorite food and didn't want you to think you had to stop having it. As long as you eat a balanced diet you can still have some. Besides, this is a much healthier recipe than you'll find at most ramen shops. And you're not listening, are you? Naruto was staring at the bowl of food hungrily but obviously waiting for her to finish. He looked up at her. What was that, Tenten? She shook her head and smiled. Nothing, just eat up. I hope you enjoy it. He made a quick bow. Thanks for the food. She was amazed at the speed at which he dug into it. She ate her own bowl much more slowly. She had never made food for anyone before, especially not a boy. He obviously loved it. Seeing him enjoy the dish was nice. She was about halfway done when he finished his bowl. He looked at the bottom with a deep sadness. She sighed and handed him the rest of hers. I can't take yours. I'm full anyways. Are you sure? I said so, didn't I? Thanks, he said and dug into the bowl with the same gusto. It was few minutes later and he was down and both of them sat back against the tree. So Naruto-kun, what kind of training do you want to focus on before you join your team? What do you mean? Well, we only have 2 weeks. It's best if we either pick your best skill and try to make it better or focus on one of your weaknesses and see if we can make it stronger. Honestly I need to work on everything. I have been screwing around for a while and all my skills could be better. I was going to try and use the time to at least catch up to the rest of my class. Tenten tried to word this carefully. She didn't want to break Naruto's newfound dedication. Naruto-kun, I'll help you as best as I can, but I just don't see how we can make that much progress if all your skills are that far behind. I mean, you can still improve, but you may have to be more patient. She looked over at him to make sure he did not look too disappointed. On the contrary, she saw he had a rather mischievous grin on his face. He got up and put his hands on her shoulders and looked her in eyes. "Can you keep a secret?" he asked. "What kind of secret?" "Nope, no hints. I want to see your surprise." His face was only a few inches from hers and his smile was infectious. So she just nodded. "Okay, I promise on my dream to become to as great a kunoichi as Lady Tsunade." He let her go and stood back. She ignored a slight feeling of disappointment. "Now that's a promise I can get behind," he said. He put his hands together in a hand sign. "Multi-shadow clone jutsu," he shouted, and 3 clones appeared behind him. She was impressed but didn't quite see the big deal. "Go ahead," he said. "What? Touch one of them." "Why?" he sighed. "Just do it, please." "Fine." She got up. The 3 clones began to chatter. "You can touch me, Tenten," said 5. "That's rude," said 4. 6 just stood silently. 5 made a catcall and 4 grabbed him in a headlock. Tenten raised an eyebrow at Naruto. "Sorry, they get that way sometimes," apologized Naruto. She walked forward, and while 4 and 5 were still fighting, 6 just went up and held out his hand. She took it, expecting the illusion to dispel. Instead, the clone felt solid and warm to the touch. "Hi," said 6. "Hi," she replied lamely. She turned to Naruto. "Are you saying they're all solid clones?" "Yup," he replied proudly. "That amazing Naruto-kun. Most genin don't have enough chakra to do 1 solid clone, let alone 3. He smiled at that, and the grin was still mischievous. "How did you make 3 at a time? You remember the incident with the scroll a couple of days ago?" She nodded. "I was kinda the one that took it." Her mouth dropped in shock. "I was tricked by someone," he quickly clarified. "I even managed to stop them when I found out. But while I had the scroll, I learned the multi-shadow clone jutsu, which lets you summon multiple clones at once." "But how do you manage to summon so many?" "About that," he said, and once again performed his favorite jutsu. A nice chunk of his MP dropped. Behind, a cloud of smoke faded and about 50 clones were now standing around, all grinning. "Mind blown," Tenten whispered, her jaw dropped. "It turns out I naturally have stupidly large amounts of chakra," Naruto commented. "It was one of the reasons I was doing so poorly in the academy. I just have issues controlling it all. This jutsu is perfect for me because I can pour the chakra into it. I don't have to worry about control as much." "You can make an army on command. That's awesome." "Well, they do dispel in one good solid hit, but yeah, it's cool." "But you don't get the best part yet." "What?" "I keep the memories of every clone." "So what does that?" "Oh. Get it now? If each of these clones is helping you train, you could put months of work into the next 2 weeks. You actually can catch up to the rest of your class. And surpass them if I work hard enough. So you still want to help me?" She didn't answer at first. She walked up to 5, who was being arm-locked by 4. Then she took out a kunai and stabbed him in the chest. He looked shocked as he vanished in a puff of smoke. "What was with that?" Naruto asked, feeling the shock of his clone. She turned and checked on him. "That didn't hurt you, did it?" she asked, looking for any wounds. "Wait, you weren't sure? It could have killed me. I didn't aim for anything vital." "Are you hurt?" "No, but I felt it enough. Pain is part of training, Naruto-kun. You better brace yourself for it." She looked satisfied with her hite 8 and wrapped it around his arm. She turned and began to walk toward the crowd of clones. "Tenten, what are you doing?" he called out. "Just going to see how tough you are, for training," she said, cracking her knuckles. "And the protector? Need to know who not to stab." The screams began a few moments later. 4. Naruto was lying in the grass, utterly exhausted. He knew his body would recover physically quickly enough, but he was afraid he was in shock. He turned his head and saw Tenten laying next to him, tired but not breathing nearly as hard. She had a huge grin on her face. She wore almost the same expression as she had waded through him. Well, his clones. Mizuki was a wimp in comparison to her, despite the difference in levels. She had bounced around the training field every moment, throwing kunai that almost always found their mark. After the initial surprise that she would take about 50 of him head-on, he had tried to direct his troops to get her, but they were an unfocused mob compared to her. She had appeared wherever they were weakest and launched kunai, shuriken and loads of other weapons into his counterparts. He had summoned more when they ran low. Eventually she seemed to get bored of slaughtering him from a distance and ran into the horde. He had actually been distracted by her movements. She was so fluid. Each time she landed a punch or a kick she turned it into another attack almost like a dance. She had actually laughed with delight. Naruto now had an uncomfortable amount of memories of dying in very imaginative ways from a 14-year-old girl. His pride was a bit hurt. Despite that it had actually been fun. She had taken him completely seriously. No one had ever done that before as a fellow ninja. Tenten glanced at him watching her and turned on her side, head propped up on her elbow. Some of her hair was out of place. Naruto tried not to be distracted. "You seem to enjoy that a lot," he commented. She blushed a bit and grinned. "Sorry, but you don't know how good a partner you are." For some reason she paused and blushed some more. "I mean sparring partner." "Why?" he asked. "Being a weapon user usually means you can only train in a few ways. You either attack targets, spar with dummy weapons or mock battle with teammates. This was the first time I could wade into real opponents who I could attack and not worry about them killing me. I actually think I perfected about 2 moves on you. I'm glad my multiple deaths were worth it," he said sarcastically. She nodded enthusiastic in agreement, missing it in her excitement. "They were. That is some of the best training I have ever had. So more of the same tomorrow?" She sighed but shook her head in a negative. "No, that wouldn't really help you. I wasn't kidding, I was evaluating your skills and they were lacking, Naruto-kun. Your taijutsu is below basic. You used no ninjutsu except for the multi-shadow clone. And that you used poorly. We have a lot of work to do. So how are we going to start then? Let me think on it for tonight. I have some ideas, I just want to work them out in my head first." "Your call sensei." "No way. You don't call me sensei. That make me sound old." "Sorry, I guess we should call it then?" Tenten got up first and held out her hand. "You're forgetting something, Naruto-kun." "What? It's dinner time, isn't it?" His stomach growled in response. She giggled. Both friends left the training field heading home. 5. Tenten got in late and sighed. She had promised to meet Naruto-kun earlier tomorrow and she was getting behind in her responsibilities at the shop. She wasn't lying though. She was looking forward to training. She would just have to lose a few hours of sleep and try to catch up. "What are you up to with that idiot?" a voice said from behind her. She didn't spin around in fright, though the voice had surprised her. She would not give him the satisfaction. As she saw the smirk on his face she could tell he knew. "Those damn eyes of his. What are you doing here, Neji?" she asked. "I was checking on you and Lee. My clan responsibilities may be keeping me busy while Sensei is away, but I wanted to check on my team." "It's not your team, Neji, it's Guy Sensei's. You haven't been made team leader." "Not yet maybe, but it's fated that I will be. No one else is as strong as me. Next you'll be fated to have cereal for breakfast." She mumbled. "What was that?" "Nothing," she said sweetly. "Right, so what were you doing with Naruto? I bet you spied on me anyway, so why are you asking?" "It wasn't spying. It's my job to make sure the team is keeping up to certain standards. I think ridiculous amounts of training pretty much is Guy's standard. Not when it's with someone like Naruto. And what's wrong with Naruto? He has a reputation. People look down on him. He's a loser." "No, he's not. You saw what he was doing out there." "You mean when you were slaughtering him? I could destroy you in seconds. What does it matter if the little orphan boy learned a new trick? A loser is a loser." "You're an ass, Neji. Maybe it's because he's an orphan? You feel some sort of connection? Well, cut it out. You can't hang out with him. Why do you even care? Like it or not, you're on my team. Your actions reflect on me and thus the Hyuga clan. Neji, I could give a crap about your clan and neither would Guy Sensei." "True, but if I bring up to my uncle he could bring it before the council. You wouldn't want it to get that far, would you? I would hate for you or Naruto to get punished due to your stubbornness." Tenten held a kunai up to Neji. "Try it and you will see how long I can last against you in a fight." Neji smirked. Tenten didn't see him move, but her face was slammed into a table, her arm locked beneath her back. "I will give you some time to think about doing the right thing. Being friends with him will just end badly. I'm looking out for you. Do the right thing or you'll force my hand," ordered Neji. Tenten felt the pressure on her arm release and she turned around and he was gone. Tenten wasn't sure what she was going to do. Neji could be an ass, but he didn't make idle threats. Tenten went to bed, her chores forgotten, but it was still hours before she fell asleep. Naruto did not know the troubles his friend was having. He was distracted reviewing the progress he had made in the day. Most of his skills had grown slowly, but 2 had actually leveled. First there was taijutsu. Not surprising considering the amount of battling he had done. Second was his shinobi basic knowledge. The taijutsu had grown over the day, but he gotten the plus to studies all at once when his clones had dispelled. He got several surprises with that. First was that his studies had leveled. But then he got several updates as well. New skills acquired. Research, passive, LV.1. You have gained the ability to find knowledge and learn to apply it effectively. 10% bonus for finding information about desired subject. Keep leveling for additional abilities and bonuses. Politics, passive, LV.1. You have begun to get a basic understanding of the political world around you. 10% bonus when dealing with diplomatic issues. Clan knowledge, passive, LV.1. You have gained specific knowledge of important clans in Konohagakure. Additional 5% bonus to social or combat skill checks when interacting with a researched clan. Intelligence +1. Through diligent study you have received a permanent bonus to your intelligence. Your studies have revealed new guide information. Naruto quickly brought up the guide and found several new entries. 2 were important to him. First was one concerning the Uzumaki clan. He accessed that one first. Uzumaki clan, the most prominent clan of the now destroyed village of Uzushigakure. The Uzumaki clan were a powerful clan well known for their fuinjutsu and long lifespan. Their clan were proud allies of Konohagakure, but neither their power nor their allies were able to save them from a surprise attack that destroyed most of the clan. Rumors state that survivors were scattered across the elemental nations. New quest. Discover the secrets of the Uzumaki clan. You have learned you are heir to a once proud and powerful clan. But knowledge in them is lacking. Talk to your team sensei for more information. But I don't have my sensei yet. Naruto complained. Oh well, at least he had more to go on than he did before. He had a clan. They were destroyed and that was sad, but there could be survivors. Even if there weren't, he had a heritage he could learn about. He had a past beyond war orphan. A drop hit the top of his bed. He realized he had been crying. That was stupid. He was happy. He wiped his eyes and selected the other interesting entry. Jinchuriki. Means literally, the power of human sacrifice. Jinchuriki are humans who are selected to host one of the 9-tailed beasts. This is done to prevent their power from endangering human lives and as weapons for the shinobi world. Typically feared by their own people, the Jinchuriki lead lonely lives but most hold positions of respect in their respective villages. Jinchuriki must learn to harness and control the power of their tailed beast. Some fail to do so and their beasts escapes. The current Jinchuriki of Konohagakure is Naruto Uzumaki, host to the most powerful of the beasts, the 9-tailed fox. New quest. Road to Jinchuriki. You have learned a little of your hidden power of the 9-tailed fox, but you have to learn much more. Talk to the Hokage for more information. Talk to the old man, huh? Well, at least he could that if he wanted to, but Naruto didn't know if he did yet. Maybe after he was done with training and graduation. Being honest with himself, he knew this quest scared him. What if he found out he was a monster after all? With mixed emotions, the young ninja went to sleep with thoughts of future challenges and worries. 1. Naruto woke up the next day without any surprise visits from Tenten and tried not to be disappointed. She was helping him far more than he deserved after all. So he prepared his own breakfast. He resisted the sweet siren call of ramen, and summoned some clones to do his daily chores. Once again he walked toward the library. While he couldn't take scrolls from there, he could still learn. He sneaked in and left another 3 clones to do further research. 1 was to continue general studies. 2 was to learn more about elemental release and check on the fuinjutsu thing his family was known for, and 3 was assigned to do more research into the clans of Konoha. Naruto figured since he was a member of a clan he should learn more about the others. That chore done, Naruto left the library and realized that he did not know what to do with his day. He had a few hours until he would meet with Tenten. He could head over to her shop now, but he did not want to become a bother. He was itching to tell her about his clan, but it could wait. It was then he noticed something new on his mini-map. A gold question mark was on the edge of the map. He walked in its direction and it stayed steady. He started to move faster towards the mark and it began to get closer. Finally he was at the location. Ichiraku Ramen. It was like sending an addict to an opium den. Ayame saw him and waved him over. She had the same question mark above her head. Well, it's not like he was going for the ramen, right? And Ayame and her dad were one of the few people who liked him. He headed over. Naruto, I haven't seen you in days. Ayame exclaimed. Yeah, sorry I haven't been by, but since I graduated I've been training. I thought graduation was postponed? It was, but I have a lot of work to do if I'm going to be Hokage one day. Ayame smiled. She and her father were one of the few people who didn't belittle his dream when he talked about it. Well, training is all well and good, but you shouldn't spend so much time by yourself. Come by and keep us company. Me and Dad miss you, you're like a permanent fixture here. Well, I'm not exactly alone. Really? Who's training with you? Tenten. Ayame perked up, clearly more interested. Tenten, she's the cute older girl who wears her hair in buns, right? I guess so. So you two are spending a lot of time alone? Well, we're training, so yeah. Have you kissed her yet? What? No, it's not like that. She is just a friend. Naruto said, waving his arms in denial. It's okay if you try, Naruto, as long you are a gentleman about it. You are being a gentleman, aren't you? She asked, her face suddenly taking a more demonic look. Leave the boy alone, Ayame. But Dad, it's Naruto's first girlfriend. He needs advice from his big sister type. You can help too. I bet he hasn't had the talk yet. Please stop. Naruto begged. Alright, I'll back off on one condition. Anything. 2 things. First, our delivery boy quit and I need someone to deliver today's ramen orders. Easy, he thought, as long as this conversation ends. Done, he said. Okay, the other thing you need to do is bring Tenten over for ramen. But Ayame. But nothing, I want to meet this girl. I have to look out for my favorite customer after all. Besides, if you say no, then I can have Dad come over to have the talk. Fine. Good, I will go get the orders. She said, smiling as she left. Naruto thought it was over, but then. Naruto? Tucci said from the kitchen. Yeah? We don't need to have the talk, do we? Kami, no. Good, just checking. Naruto banged his head on the counter. A chime sounded. New quest. Ichiraku Ramen Deliveries. You have accepted a delivery quest from your favorite ramen shop. Complete the deliveries for reward. Reward. Increased reputation with Ichiraku Ramen. Slight increase in reputation with Konoha if all deliveries are completed successfully. Not worth it, he complained to his power. 2. Tenten walked through town carrying lunch and supplies for today's training. Neji could go to hell if he thought he could intimidate her. But she was worried. Most times Neji was an ass and would not act out on his threats, but if he did think Naruto was a issue, he might make problems. She wanted to hang out with Naruto. She was really starting to think of him as a friend. She didn't have many. Neji was on her team, but that did not make him her friend, as he had proved last night. Lee was a friend, but he took too much after Guy-sensei to be close. From her time at the academy and living in the Leaf Orphanage, she did have friends, but most of them seemed to grow distant when she didn't see them every day. Naruto had it worse. People liked Tenten even if she didn't have close friendships. People actively had a problem with Naruto, not that she knew why. She was in a different class, so she had not actually spent time with him in school, but he already had a reputation as the class clown and a dead last, but whenever he was by himself he was usually training or minding his own business. He did pull pranks. A lot of them. Most of time it seemed to be on someone who was being mean to him first. He was far lonelier than she had ever been, and she was amazed at how well he handled it. Right now he seemed to be at that age where he was in between being a boy and a teenager. He had a lot of good qualities going for him. He was far stronger than anyone realized. He was funny. He cared about other people. He was willing to learn and work hard for what he wanted. Listen to herself. You would believe she was listing the reasons she was going to date the boy. That was silly, of course, not matter what a nosy Smith might think. Tenten, a voice shouted from behind her. Speak of the devil. Naruto came bounding down the street in the horrible orange jumpsuit. She really needed to finish his new outfit quickly. And take him shopping while she was at it. He came to a stop in front of her and was panting, hands on his knees. Hey, he said, gasping for breath. What have you been up to? She asked. You haven't been training with another cute kunoichi, have you? Never, he grinned back. I have been doing deliveries all over Konoha for Ichiraku's. Naruto-kun, you haven't been cheating on your new diet, have you? She frowned. No, just deliveries, I swear. Ayame needed help because their delivery boy quit. Who's Ayame? She said with a chill in her voice. Naruto didn't notice. She the daughter of the owner. She's really cool. She gives me free ramen a lot. Does she now? Her voice getting colder. Yeah, I have known her for years. She looked after me when the orphanage kicked me out. Tenten paused. Naruto, how old is Ayame? He scratched his head. I don't know, in her 20s I think. Why? Oh, nothing, she said warmly. Just curious if I knew her was all. Okay, well, I got some news. What? Well, I did some research into my name, and the Uzumaki were actually once a powerful clan. He proceeded to tell her all he had learned. I might actually have relatives lost out there. So you're related to the actual Uzumaki clan? Why? Is there more than one? No, Naruto-kun, but sometimes the orphanage would name kids after dead clans as way to honor them and keep their name alive. You may just share a name, Naruto. He shook his head. I don't think so. As far as I know, I was already named when the orphanage took me in, and I have other reasons to think it's true. Tenten didn't argue with him. After all, she had told herself a lot of stories growing up about a family she never knew. Besides, he might be a Uzumaki in truth. She didn't want to break his spirit. If it was a lie, it was an innocent one. Well, I'm happy for you, Naruto-kun. Thanks. Do you know what we're going to do for training today? I had some time to think about it, but I'll go over it with you when we get to the training area. The two friends chatted about this as they walked off. 3. After lunch, Tenten sat back and went over what she had come up with. Okay, Naruto-kun. I had some time to work this out in my head, and this is what I think we should do. First, I'm going to show basic training drills that Guy-sensei taught me. You, that is the not clone you, should focus on that since you can learn other skills through your clones. Just working out? Man, that sounds dull. She smiled. Not just that. I want to run the real you through plenty of drills in other skills after the clones pick up the basics. After all, a clone only lasts as long as one good hit. Your real fights will last longer. If you only trained via your clones, you would only have memories of fights lasting seconds or minutes. You need to learn tactics and strategy. Okay, I think the main problem with your clones is that you can make so many of them. You tend to summon as many as possible and swarm your opponent. What's wrong with that? Well, the most basic problem is you have so many clones you literally get in your own way. I just had to wait for you to trip over yourself and attack. Any shinobi smart enough would do the same thing. Okay, I see what you're talking about, but how many clones are good? We'll need to experiment, but to start off I think 3 is good. 3? I get what you're saying about overcrowding, but I think that's too few. You're right, but what is the size of most shinobi teams? 3 to 4. Oh, I get it, you wanted to train in squad tactics with my clones. Exactly, Naruto-kun. Ninja teams are already set to work together as a unit. Once you learn those skills with you and 2 other clones or a 3-clone unit, I can teach you what I know about tactics with multiple squads. You're a genius, Tenten. She turned away. I just took some time to think about is all. Now while I work with those clones, we'll have other clones boost the rest of your skills. I will show a group some training katas Guy taught us when we graduated, which are great in honing your basic taijutsu. Once a group masters a move, you can dispel them and summon another 10. Should I summon more? She shook her head. I guess we could, but I want to see how fast you learn first. I'm not a medical ninja, but I have been warned about shadow clones because of their mental exhaustion. You may have huge amounts of stamina and chakra, but who knows how many memories you can take at once. Besides, I am going to have other clones work on different things. We should stick to around 50 since you can make a couple of hundred. Alright, what next? How's your leaf exercise? He grimaced. I can hold the leaf about half the time. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, we can work on that too. For now I want you to have 10 clones working on that until they can do it indefinitely. Once they have that down, have them add more leaves or twigs or whatever until they can hold multiple objects. Does it matter? I can already use tons of chakra. Yeah, but the better you can control it, the more you can do with it. Also, many jutsu require great control as much as raw power. Finally, we'll have some clones working on bukajutsu skills so your clones can have more options in combat than just rushing and hitting things. Quote, no ninjutsu? He asked, sounding disappointed. Well, you can spare some to work on the ones you already know, but really I don't know that many myself. I know some fuinjutsu for my scrolls, but that's about it right now. Sorry, Naruto-kun, she said apologetically. Wait, you know fuinjutsu? Could you show me that? He asked excitedly. I guess so. I'm only a basic user though. It's really hard, Naruto. That's okay, the Uzumaki were known for it and I wanted to give it a try. I can do that then. But it will have to be tomorrow though. I need supplies for it. Thanks. No problem. Let's get to work. 4. Naruto was once again exhausted and for once his heat bar was low as well. Tenten had ran him through basic exercises. Right. If these were her sensei's basic training methods, Naruto thanks the powers that be he already was taken by another team. She did not have one exercise that did not start with, first do 1,000 of these, then 1,000 of these, he heard all over. Still it was worth. Between what he had done and what his clones had worked on, all his skills were showing improvement. He even got a few new skills. Chakra Mastery, Passive, LV. 1. You have gained the skill to mold and manipulate chakra. Some skills require highs levels to be acquired or used properly. Keep leveling for additional abilities and bonuses. The boost was on this skill for now and he even leveled it to 2 already. Weapon Specialty. Kunai, Passive, LV. 1. You have gained proficiency with kunai blades. 5% bonus when using these weapons. Keep leveling for additional abilities and bonuses. Weapon Specialty. Shuriken, Passive, LV. 1. You have gained proficiency with shurikens. 5% bonus when using these weapons. Keep leveling for additional abilities and bonuses. Tactics, Passive, LV.1. You have learned the basics of battle tactics. This skill applies a bonus of 5% to combat when battle strategy is applied. Squad Tactics. You have learned the basics of 3-man shinobi squad tactics. No boost on them since he did not have anything beyond the academy teachings, but still. Also all his academy skills had leveled. What he was proud of most of all was that he had leveled too. He was now level 3. He realized he still had not spent any of his skill points. He decided he was going to wait until he was done with training and had an idea how he wanted to go. You okay, Naruto-kun? Tenten asked him with a note of worry in her voice. I'm fine, just a little winded. A little winded, he says. Naruto-kun, you should be proud of yourself. You have accomplished a lot in one day. If you keep at it you'll exceed your class in no time. Only if you help me, Tenten. I think you the strongest kunoichi ever. Tenten waved off the praise. Come on, I should have called it earlier, but you were making such good progress. Is something wrong? Not really, she said, scratching her head, but I have chores that have been getting behind at the shop and Yukari-sensei is really nice, but if I keep getting behind I could get in trouble. So I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, could we skip dinner tonight? Naruto looked at her then turned away as if angry, his arms crossed behind his head. Naruto? I'm sorry, but I can't let you off the hook like that. Naruto, I don't have to cook. I mean, he said, cutting her off. Here you are doing all of this to help me out and you think so badly of me that you don't think I would want to help you? What? I mean, I couldn't ask you to help you like you've been helping me? Why not? I'm your friend, right? Of course you are. He smiled as if he scored a victory. Then ask me. Tenten sighed and then bowed. Naruto-kun, could you give me a hand at the shop? Of course, Tenten, you didn't have to ask. He must be getting more skilled because he managed to dodge her first couple of fists before her ran laughing. 5. The next few days followed a familiar pattern. First he would send clones to the library for research. Then he would look for quests from people around town, otherwise known as things people needed done they didn't mind having the town pariah do for them. Still it was worth express and reward and some even help with his reputation, though he had so many negatives to that it was really slow. Then he had lunch with Tenten and off to training. Tenten would show him, or his clones, various skills which he would spend the day learning. He spent his day split between physical exercise and mock battles between squads of clones. It started off with Tenten leading 2 clones and himself leading 2 other clones. First team down lost. He had yet to win yet. Even though one time one of his clones decided to be a turncoat. He had to promise never to do that again, as he was held upside down from a tree branch being poked at with a kunai near places he didn't want poked with a kunai. He was sure she was joking, mostly. He had made progress on the entire academy set and had a few more skills. Quick Draw, Active, LV.1. For 10 megapixels you can get a 50% speed boost for ranged attack at the beginning of a combat round. Targeted Attack, Active, LV.1. For 10 megapixels you can get a 50% bonus to hit and to damage against one opponent. Can only be used once at the beginning of a combat round. These were pretty good, but it took some time to figure out what a combat round was. Basically, if you were actively fighting you could not use the skill. It took too long. But if there was a break in combat, like when both sides withdraw to regroup or for a breath, it gave you a chance then. But that one wasn't the coolest one. Chakra Charge, active, LV.1. MP cost varies. You have gained the ability to charge a weapon with chakra. Weapons charged gain a blue aura and damage and endurance increase based on chakra infused. Note: durability of item decreases rapidly with use of the ability. Note: increased leveling of chakra mastery improves this technique. Chakra Burst. Special ability where user overloads a weapon with chakra, allowing for one attack with at least double the attack power. Note: most weapons are destroyed when using this ability. Note: it can take several seconds for charge to complete. No other jutsu can be performed during charge. Movement is limited by -50% due to concentration. Tenten had showed him this only yesterday. One day ago. Naruto-kun, I want to show you something new. She had directed him, the real him, to sit down. You have made a lot of progress, and I was thinking of what kind of skills we can have you work on to improve your overall damage. Then I remembered this. She pulled out a kunai and concentrated. A blue aura surrounded the blade and it almost seemed to hum with power. This technique allows you to charge your blade with chakra and increase its attack power. Once learned, you can do it with almost any weapon. She let the aura fade. That is so awesome. But why haven't you ever done it? He asked. He had never really seen any shinobi do that before. Well, the skill is easy enough to learn, but there are several drawbacks. First, it drains a lot of chakra. Right now I don't have enough chakra to make it matter in combat. Second, it wears out most weapons pretty quickly. Only certain metals can handle it without damage. By keeping your clones low and with your massive chakra pools, you should be able to do it through normal combat without problems. Even the durability issue shouldn't be too much of a problem if your clones use their weapons for most of the attacks. They had spent the rest of the day incorporating it into his skills. It was toward the end of the day he found another use. His clone had come up with the idea and dispelled itself to have him give it a try. What he thought was this: what if he charged as much chakra as he could into a weapon? He brought out one of his kunai and channeled as much as he could. It took longer than normal, but when it felt done it glowed brightly and he could feel the metal vibrate in his hand. He had thrown against the boulder he was using for target practice. The explosion that followed had knocked him to the ground. Naruto-kun, Tenten had shouted, running over to him. "I'm okay," he said weakly. She didn't let him up until she had thoroughly checked him for injuries. She was clearly worried about him. He explained what he had done and she proceeded to pound him on his head. That had hurt worse actually. When she was done, she helped him practice the skill on a few more kunai, from a safe distance, until he thought he had it down. "Well, Naruto-kun, I think you have your first forbidden jutsu," she said. "Why forbidden?" "Well, this has a lot of attack power, but you're pretty vulnerable when using it. It's the kind of jutsu you only want to use in extreme circumstances on when you manage to trick your opponent. You want to be careful with it, okay? Promise. But it's pretty cool, right?" "Absolutely," she grinned back. Present. Naruto could really feel his skills coming together. After training he would help Tenten with her chores. None of the crafting stuff so far, but just the cleaning and organizing. He was starting to get interested in trying his hand at repair though. He had yet to actually see Yukari-sensei. The only disappointing thing was so far he had been unable to unlock Fuinjutsu, but he was still trying. That skill required base knowledge that was hard to just learn, and so far he had not thought of a way to get a scroll that he could learn. Right now he was just getting in to clean up the shop. Tenten was already there since she had left early from training. He got a broom and started to sweep the floor. Between the shop and his house cleaning skill was leveling nicely. Not that it mattered. Stupid skill. But he had to admit he liked his apartment looking so nice, and of course his next level had a bonus for shiny surfaces. He didn't care about it really. "Boy, are you here again?" a voice came from the back room. "Yes, Yukari-sensei. You know I'm not paying you, right?" "Yes, Yukari-sensei. Yet you're cleaning my shop." "Yes, Yukari-sensei. You're not trying to peep again, are you, boy?" "That was a accident, Yukari-sensei." That was the second mistake Naruto had vowed only to make once with Tenten. The second day he came here to help with Tenten's chores, he had gone upstairs into what he had thought were storage rooms looking for supplies. Tenten had never actually said she lived here in a small apartment. How was he to know? Yukari didn't live here after all. Also, how was he to know she was getting changed right then? He had never dodged so many weapons in his life. She should have calmed down when he said he didn't see anything. It wasn't true, but that was besides the point. The vicious killing intent he had felt from the back room was scarier, however, and then it was Tenten telling Yukari it had been an accident. Yukari had believed her, but Naruto was determined to avoid meeting the dangerous presence in the back room for as long as possible. Naruto-kun, can you bring me my backpack? I left it downstairs, a voice shouted from above. Naruto grabbed the pack and headed upstairs. Boy, don't you do anything you'll regret. Yes, Yukari-sensei. Naruto gulped. He got to the door that was partially open and politely knocked and waited for her. Okay. He went inside and sat the pack next to her bed. He stood feeling a bit awkward and having small flashbacks of flying kunai. She was straightening up her room and looked at him annoyed. Sit down, Naruto-kun, there's nothing to be worried about. I promise no weapons. Quote. He looked around and the only thing to sit on was the bed. He started to back away, worried about Yukari-sensei's warning. Sit, her voice ordered. He complied and looked around. There were several weapons lining the walls and scattered scrolls and text and even a training dummy in the corner. Besides all that, somehow it still felt feminine. Just like her, he thought. In the door to the other room he saw a chair and he realized that his new outfit was laying on it. He leaned to get a peek. A hand grabbed the handle and shut it. Nope, not until it's ready. Come on, Tenten, just a peek. Not going to happen, she said sternly. She sat down on the bed across from him and he shut up. So Naruto-kun, it's less than a week until the graduation ceremony. I think you are going to hit the training goals you set with no problem. Is there anything else you want to work on? Well, I wouldn't mind starting on some advanced fighting forms or weapon styles. All the stronger kids in class all have fighting styles from their clans. Ainomi and Lee didn't start to catch up until Guy started showing us advanced katas. I know a good two-handed kunai style that would fit how you tend to fight just fine. We could work that in the next few days. Anything else? Well, I would like to get the basics of Fuinjutsu down, but it's hard. There's some reference material at the library that I think would help, but since I can't get to it, I'm stuck. Why can't you get to it? It has to be checked out, he said absent-mindedly. Basic seal information isn't classified. You don't need clearance. He chuckled. Doesn't matter if the librarians won't get it for you. They won't get it for you. How come? Come on, Tenten, you know how no one likes me. But that is supposed to be available for any shinobi. Is there anything else you need you have a hard time getting? Not really, just issues with clothes, food outside of ramen. Gear was a issue before I met you, he said with a small smile. They won't sell to you? Some don't, but others will sell to me. It just cost more. How much more? Usually about double. How do you live off that on an orphan allowance? I wear the same thing every day, he joked. He paused when he caught her eye. She looked mad. She looked, you saw me naked, mad. He backed away from her, wondering if he had screwed up somehow. Tenten, did I do something? Of course not, Naruto-kun. Just make me a promise, okay? She said sweetly. Her smile did not quite reach her face. Yes? From now on when you go shopping, I don't care what for, I'm coming with you, alright? Naruto paused. For the most part they hung out alone away from the villagers. She had mostly not noticed the occasional stares of hatred. He did not want her to see just how much people despised him. He still felt that her friendship would end once she learned about him. Part of him said that didn't make sense. She had done nothing to show him she would act that way, but he had friends in the past who, after a whisper conversation with angry parents or worried friends, would stop talking to him. And what if she somehow found out about the demon? Would she think he was a monster too? He didn't think he could take that from her. You don't have to do that, I'm used to it, Tenten. What do I care if people don't like me? She leaned in close and Naruto remembered where they were. He got real quiet. I like you, Naruto. You're my friend. I will not let a friend of mine be treated that way. So this is non-optional. I'm going, okay? Her face was just a few inches away. He nodded. She smiled. Excellent. Let's get the chores done and we'll head over to your place for dinner. She got up and bounded out of her room. He followed a bit more slowly. How the hell did she always get her way? Naruto felt the kunai against his throat as he attempted to break the arm lock holding him in place. Too slow, his opponent commented, and with a quick motion slit his throat. His mouth tried to yell in anger. Instead he burst into a cloud of white smoke. Tenten turned and smirked as the original Naruto stood there rubbing his throat. He had just downloaded the memories from his clone and he was pretty sure he would have nightmares about that one. The evil chuckle she had whispered in his ear had been a nice touch. "You're getting more vicious, Tenten. I think you're enjoying killing me way too much." "I can't help it. Your clones are the best training method I've ever had. They fight like a real opponent and they go poof instead of bleeding. Saves a ton on cleaning bills. I'm real glad it's making you better," he said with a slight grumble. "You've gotten a lot better, Naruto-kun, and you know it," she said with a smile. "Maybe, but I still haven't beaten you once. I'm more experienced than you, or do you just hate losing to a girl?" she teased. He grinned back at her. His orange jumpsuit had taken quite the beating today. Tenten was making sure the real him was in more battles. To tell him apart from his clones, he now wore a blue ribbon that Tenten had given him. He rarely took it off. His training had gone well. He had learned quickly there was a difference between having the skill and knowing how to use it in the real world. A skill was the knowledge, but the experience still had to gain the old-fashioned way. As long as spamming hundreds of clones counted as old-fashioned, it would only be 2 more days until graduation and he was level 4 and should be level 5 by tomorrow. He had already maxed out his academy skill set. They maxed at 5, so it wasn't hard. He now had a strong basic knowledge of taijutsu, ninjutsu, survival skills, which was things like basic tracking, foraging and traps, and academy studies, which covered things like math, language and history. He was also used up the beginner's boost on stealth, perception and chakra mastery, which ran out at 5 like the academy skills. That seemed to be where his power rated he should be with any skill he had experience with before he got the power. The others were progressing, but much more slowly. What he was most proud of was he had finally gained Fuinjutsu. Fuinjutsu, active, LV.1 megapixels. Cost varies on seal. You have gained a basic understanding of the seal arts. This is a powerful ability which allows the gamer a wide range of skills. Find scrolls to learn new seals or experiment to create new ones. Storage seal. This seal allows user to store any item. Items stored exist in a state of stasis. Items stored are limited by LV of Fuinjutsu. Exploding seal. This seal can be charged with chakra and then set to explode. Damage rate depends on LV of Fuinjutsu. Tenten had gotten him a copy of a scroll with the basics of sealing. He had to spend a few points on intelligence in order to use it, but he still had the bulk of his skill points waiting for graduation. Right now most of the seals he made tended to fail, but he was slowly grinding experience in it. Naruto was getting comfortable with the limits of his multi-shadow clone jutsu as well. His shadow clones could not access any of his menu screens. Also, while they could do the work for a quest, he himself had to accept and complete any quest. Still, it was an advantage when trying to find minor quests to do in the morning. If it was easy enough, he could accept the quest and have a clone do the work. Most quests around Konoha were only small express or reward. If it wasn't for the reputation rewards many of them had, he might not bother at all. But it seemed to be helping. Why, the average citizen only scowled at him for a moment or two before going on their way. He looked at Tenten standing there panting from training. If she hadn't helped he wouldn't be nearly as far along. "It's worth it as long as it's you," he said with a grin. After all, she had been a better friend to him in the last 2 weeks than anyone around his age. For some reason though, she blushed and looked away. Some people can't take a compliment. "Anyway, I was wondering if we could work on a new technique for me?" she asked. "I know we're supposed to be working on your skills, but I had an idea for a new jutsu." "You did? That's awesome. What is it?" he said excitedly. She seemed happy he was excited and reached back and brought out 2 of her scrolls. The 2 scrolls were similar in appearance to her twin Rising Dragon scrolls. He knew them well. Pointy things of death came out of them. He now had a lot of memories of the pointy things of death. Tenten opened the scrolls and rolled them out on the ground. "Now Naruto-kun, you have seen this technique several times over the last few days. What would you say are some of its weaknesses?" He thought about it. 2 weeks ago he would not have been able to answer this as easily. Now he had a lot more experience. "Well, the biggest issue is time. It takes time for you to unroll the scrolls and then you have to summon each weapon individually. You're quick at it, but against faster opponents you could be interrupted or countered." "Very good, Naruto-kun." He couldn't help it, he preened a bit. "Yeah, it's not a great attack for combat unless your comrades are keeping the enemy busy. I had to stop using it on you as you got stronger." I want to be able to use it in one-on-one combat with less risk, but to do that I need to increase the speed and power of the attack. Tenten pointed at the storage seals on the scroll. Notice anything different? I don't know what I'm missing here, Tenten, but they look like they're flawed. That's because they are. Sorta. How is a broken seal a new jutsu? Well, how does a normal storage seal work? The normal seal uses chakra to push the item outside of our dimension. Whatever that means. I'm still trying to read the more advanced scrolls. He said with a slight grin. That's right. A stable seal moves the item in and out of an alternate dimension, and it always comes in and out in the same state you put it in. A flawed seal will have the risk of the item coming out at any speed or state. It's dangerous. What I am trying to do is create an intentional flaw that will pull the weapons out already in motion. If it works, all I would have to do is channel my chakra across the scrolls and let the blades fly. So you've already tried this out? He asked. Not yet. I just completed these seals. Today was going to be my test run. Alright, and what do you want me to do? She stared at him. You want me to be target practice, don't you? Kinda, she said with a grin. Why can't we have you just shoot normal targets first? Well, I need to learn very specific chakra control to handle the aiming. Which would still be fine shooting the ground. Okay, I've kinda gotten used to targeting you. She hung her head in shame. Naruto blinked a few times. That is one of the weirdest and nicest things anything has ever said to me. Really? Yeah, but you'll do it? He sighed. Yeah, I'll do it. You're the best, Naruto-kun, she said, reaching over and hugging him. Naruto knew he was about to get a lot of more memories of dying. Somehow he was fine with that. 1. Tenten stood across from a field of Narutos. She had spent almost a half hour fiddling with seals only to have nothing happen the first couple of times she had tried to launch her attack. The next time she had summoned some of weapons, but they had gone in every direction. One had missed her neck by a hair. Naruto had wanted her to stop right then, but she would not take no for an answer. She kept trying to alter the seals and try again. She wasn't about give up. Can we at least take a break? He asked, trying to distract her. No, Naruto. I think I almost got it. She said. That's what you said before you almost took off your head. He mumbled. What was that? She asked. Nothing. She finished altering the seals and got ready to try again. Naruto had placed some clones set to dodge whenever she attacked, but so far the only clones that had been in danger had been purely by chance. Honestly, shouldn't she learn to shoot straight before using him as target practice? Tenten readied the scrolls. If the technique worked, she could unroll and activate them in mid-jump, allowing for a much quicker, more devastating attack. Naruto approved but was not sure what her hurry was right now. She didn't have clones for violent training like he did. The young Kunoichi launched herself into the air, unrolling both scrolls as she did so. Her hand skimmed the surface of the scroll's chakra, charging the seals as she went. Unlike the previous attempts, this time the seals activated and the weapons flew out. If not exactly where she was aiming, they all came out in the same general direction at the same time. She had done it, but Naruto noticed something. Her MP bar was over halfway gone. That was way more chakra than it should have taken. Tenten landed on the ground, obviously drained. I did it, Naruto-kun. Awesome, he said, congratulating her. Are you okay though? You seem pretty winded. I'm okay, that just took more out of me than I meant. I must have messed up the chakra control. I will get right. Naruto looked at her already low MP bar. She shouldn't be trying another jutsu right now. Maybe you should recheck the seals first? The attack was still off a bit. No, I want to give it at least one more try before I mess with the seals again. Well, what's the worst that can happen? If her chakra ran out, then the seals just wouldn't work. Okay, if that's what you want. Thanks, Naruto-kun, she said with a smile. She stood and stretched and then readied the scrolls again. She examined the field and tried to ready her target. Once again she launched into the air and tried to summon her weapons. This time there was a flash of blue light as the chakra drain was so bright it was visible to the eye. Tenten's MP bar drained to 0 and then her HP bar began to drain as well. When it stopped, it was about 3/4 down. Tenten passed out as she's still moving upwards. Tenten! Naruto screamed and raced toward her. He was too far away to reach her, however, as the real him was staying away from her attacks. Fortunately, before she hit the ground, some of his remaining clones were able to reach her in time and broke her fall. They dispelled from the force, but Naruto was by her side a moment later. He gently lifted her head, but she was unconscious. She wouldn't wake up. She was taller than him, but he managed to get her into a fireman's carry and he raced toward the hospital. 2. Tenten's first thought upon waking was that she was cold. Her second thought was to ask why she was in a bed. Hadn't she been training? Her brain told her the best way to answer some of these questions might be to actually open her eyes, but she rebelled against the notion as she felt exhausted. Still, after a few minutes, curiosity as to how she got into this state began to get the better of her. She opened her eyes and blinked against the sunlight. She was in a hospital room. Bright sunlight was streaming in through a window. She looked around and looked at the weight on her legs. Naruto sitting next to her bed and fallen forward and was asleep on her legs. It was adorable. Except he had drooled. She started to wake him when she felt a slight breeze. She looked down. She was naked. "Eep," she whispered and quickly pulled her sheet over chest. She pulled it back for a second and looked down. She was not entirely naked. There were medical seals placed over the major tenketsu points in her body. She knew enough that these were seals that helped the body recover chakra after extreme chakra drain. But how did she lose that much chakra? She had been trying to perfect a new version of the twin rising dragons, but that technique required very little in actual chakra. She focused back on Naruto-kun. Well, there was one way to find out. Making sure she was very firmly wrapped in her sheets, she called out to him. "Naruto-kun?" He just lay there unresponsive. "Naruto-kun," she said more loudly. She thought she heard slight snore. "Naruto," she yelled and kicked him with her foot. He shot up and lost his balance. She felt bad when he fell out of his bed onto the floor. His head popped up a moment later. "Ouch, I'm awake. What was that for anyway?" He paused, his eyes going wide as he looked at her. "Tenten," she shouted and jumped onto the bed, hugging as hard as he could. "Naruto, sheets, sheets," she shouted as it suddenly became very difficult to keep herself covered and her excited friend properly separated. It was a good thing for her he realized the situation as his face went crimson and he scurried a few feet back, both hands covering his eyes. She couldn't help but to grin. "Sorry, it's okay Naruto-kun, just give me a keep your eyes covered." "Sorry." A moment later she was situated again. "Okay, now you can open your eyes." He slowly lowered his hands as if expecting some sort trap. "So I must have been bad." He just nodded in confirmation. She noticed as he thought about it looked visibly paler, and a lot younger. "You're just you went wrong. Something in seal, but I don't know enough to know what. I rushed you here as fast as I could. The nurses almost wouldn't let me in, until I convinced them. The doctors said you had extreme chakra exhaustion and covered you in chakra-focusing seals. But I wasn't there for that part. I trust you Naruto-kun," she said a little softly. He was trying to laugh like it was a joke, but she could tell he was frightened. She could never remember seeing him frightened before. Either during the academy or during the training over the last 2 weeks he met any challenge head-on. He almost lost his only friend, she realized. She knew some adults were friends with him, but she knew the difference it could mean to have only a few friends your own age. She had few real friends herself. But to be his only real friend, it was like being his entire world. For a moment the thought seemed overwhelming, and for a smaller moment she considered parting ways with the hyperactive blonde. The moment passed with a small bit of guilt. She may be his only friend, this was true, and the thought of messing up something like that was frightening, but in the 2 weeks she had really gotten to know him and she thought he was worth it. She saw how hard he worked to achieve his dreams and how devoted he would be to those he cared about. Just training with him was pushing her toward her own dream of being as great as Tsunade. She believed him when he said he would be Hokage someday. She believed in him. It occurred to her that he had been staring for a couple of minutes while she was pondering. "What? I just realized this is the first time I saw your hair down." He commented. "It looks cute." She blushed and realized it was true. Her hair was not in its normal buns and flowed over the sheets down to her waist. "Don't get used to it. Long hair in battle is not the brightest move." "Oh, you look cute that way too," he said. It was amazing how he managed to say stuff like that so casually. You'd almost think he hadn't planned it. How long was I out for anyway? He thought for a moment. "About 20 hours? IT's tomorrow?" she shouted. "You graduate tomorrow. Why aren't you training? Clones, remember? Are you a clone?" she asked. "Nothing but the number 1 Naruto Uzumaki for you, Tenten." "Good. Find my clothes." "Why? I gotta get back to the shop. Your new getup is not done yet." "That doesn't matter, I'll just wear my jumpsuit." "No way. You are not wearing that thing one more day longer than needed. Can you even walk? No, but you don't need to walk to sew. You can carry me back. These seals can treat chakra exhaustion there as well as they can here. How do you know? You don't have Gai-sensei as a teacher without becoming familiar with every type of exhaustion there is. Now get my clothes, Naruto-kun. Naruto obediently found the clothes and tried very hard not to react at some of what he was carrying. Tenten just had him turn around as she got change. She had to use him a prop and she could tell he was tensing up as he heard her get dressed. She resisted the urge to lean against him. He may not survive the thought. She would just be teasing him, of course. After she was fully clothed, she climbed on his back and he snuck them out the window. She wasn't too worried. She wouldn't be the first ninja to leave before the doctor gave the okay. It wasn't long before she was back in her room. I will get this finished tonight and see you bright and early before the graduation ceremony, she said. He wouldn't leave until she had promised to be careful. As he left, she smiled and then she got to work. 3. Naruto was an anxious shinobi the next morning. He had spent what time he had left yesterday training. He was more than happy with what he had accomplished so far. He was now level 5, but he knew he had leagues more work to go if he wanted to be Hokage one day. Today would be the real first step. The day he officially became a genin of the Hidden Leaf. He had his forehead protector given to him by Iruka. Iruka had given it to him after Naruto had visited him at the hospital as thanks for saving him and as a way to show him how proud he was. Naruto had not worn it yet. He did not intend to until he was officially a genin and in his new uniform. Which was why he was anxious now. Tenten was running late. He had tried to check on her last night on the way back from training, but several thrown kunai convinced him to go home. At least he knew she was feeling stronger. There was a knock on his door. He rushed over and opened it. There, standing a little out of breath and carrying a paper package wrapped in a white string, was Tenten. Sorry I'm late, she said. I was working all night on it to finish the last touches. Tenten barreled past him into his apartment. She turned and handed him the package. You don't have a lot of time. You need to get change. Okay, I'll head in my room. No, I mean you need to use the mirror in your bathroom. Why? Just move, Naruto. Okay. Naruto replied and went into the bathroom and closed the door. As he removed his old jumpsuit, she called out to him. Naruto-kun, I need you to hand me your jumpsuit. I need to check some measurements from it. Naruto complied and handed his old outfit through the slightly opened door. Thanks, she said. Naruto wondered what she needed to check since she already had the armor done. He heard her moving around. Tenten, what are you doing out there? He called out. Nothing, just straightening up. Get changed already. Alright, but my apartment is immaculate. He mumbled. He had just leveled his household chores skill again after all. He opened the package. At first glance it looked almost exactly the same. He used Observe on it. Onyx Initiate Battle Gear Set, Fire Style. Crafted by Tenten, LV. 5-15, Rank Rare, Durability 40/40ths. AC. 25, 5% increase to Chakra Control. An additional 5% to Elemental Chakra Control. Set Bonus. This set includes a chest, legs, hand and foot items. Entire set grants an additional 5% bonus to Chakra Control. Also provides an additional +5 to all stats. Description. Forged with care from the base Onyx Initiate Battle Gear, you can tell that the crafter forged this with someone special in mind. You feel a soft, strong power coming from it. Special? He thought to himself. This gear was awesome. It didn't look that different as far as he could tell, but obviously Tenten had decided on function over style. He could live with that. Besides, he didn't know that items could increase his stats. He was just level 5. Good thing he had trained so hard. He would miss Orange though. Naruto then heard a soft sound that he could swear was a muffled explosion. Tenten? He called out, concerned. Nothing. You almost ready? One sec. Instead of putting it on normally, he placed the item in his inventory and then moved it to his character sheet. He felt space shift around him as the clothes settled on his body. It was a perfect fit. Not that he had any doubt. He looked at himself in the mirror. He looked pretty cool. Sorta like a mini Anbu without the combat vest. The chest piece did have plenty of pockets though. The most awesome thing was on the back of the shirt. A silver Uzumaki clan symbol was placed there proudly. He opened the door and walked out to show Tenten. She was bent over a large container of some kind that looked like it was smoking out the top. When she heard him she stood up quickly and spun around. Her face looked like she had been caught. I thought you would be another minute, Naruto-kun. I can see that. What's with the barrel? I was doing some cleaning. Naruto looked around the room and thought for a moment. My jumpsuit's in the barrel, isn't it? Yes. But I have like 10. He paused and looked into the closest in his room. It was empty. All my jumpsuits are in the barrel, aren't they? Yes. Yes, they are. Did you use explosive tags? It was the only way to be sure. But all of them? It's for your own good, Naruto-kun. And what else am I supposed to wear? She put her hands on his shoulders. I swear tomorrow I will help you shop for a whole new closet full of clothes, but that jumpsuit had to die a horrible death. Naruto walked over and looked at the dying embers of his old suit and wiped a small tear. Goodbye, old friend, he said solemnly. Tenten bowed her head in a moment of silence. She couldn't stop the grin on her face. For Naruto, a chime sounded. Congratulations, through diligent effort you have removed the unkempt flaw. Well, that proves it then. It did have to go. Tenten grabbed his hand and pulled him out the door. Come on, Naruto-kun. You can't be late for your own graduation. I have one more thing to tell you about your new armor.